The year was 1835. About 6 years had passed since Jowa became Meijin, and as it was expected, he never kept his word and he never gave his title of Meijin Godokoro to Gennan. So Gennan knew that if he wanted to get it back, he had to act. He had to come up with a plan. And he did. Not only Jowa had some connections in high places, but Gennan had some as well. And his connection was Lord Matsudaira. And he came to him with friendship and respect. And through him, they had organized a gathering, a local party, or also with a small tournament, where all of the strongest players of that time were invited, including Jowa. And Jowa knew because Lord Matsudaira was a powerful person. He couldn't simply refuse. So Jowa knew that at this gathering, he would have to play Gennan. And this was Gennan's chance to defeat Jowa, to show everyone that Jowa could be defeated and he was not worthy of being Meijin. This was his chance to get the title. But at the very last moment, Gennan hesitated. He still wasn't quite sure he could really defeat Jowa, the Meijin. So, at the very last moment, he decided that his most brilliant pupil, his name was Akaboshi Intetsu, should play in his stead. Akaboshi was only 25 years old, but he was already 7-dan, and he was a brilliant and promising player. Everyone thought that he was going to be the next Meijin. Akaboshi Intetsu and Jowa actually played a couple of games in the summer of 1834. That's 1 year before this. And both of those games were left unfinished. And we know what that means. So let me show you one of those games, just to demonstrate the kind of confidence and brilliance with which young Akaboshi played his games. This is the first game they played, and in this game, as in both of them, of course Akaboshi is playing black, and Jowa Meijin is playing white, because they have a difference in rank. And at this point already, after the very first moves of the opening, the computer believes that the win rate is 80-20 in black's favor. And no, it doesn't mean that Akaboshi could play this opening so brilliantly that he already gained 30 extra %. It's just that at that time there was no komi, remember? And that means that without komi, computers estimate that instead of 50-50, at the very start of the game, it's 80-20 in black's favor. Some simple josekis were played. White just spent 2 stones getting this corner and killing the stone inside. And now Akaboshi begins to attack this stone here. White lives at the bottom. Black presses down. White needs to live. An extension, one more time. And black gets this wall, and white gets a living group. White probably needs to add another stone just to make sure that this group is alive. At this point, Akaboshi decides to attack. This group doesn't have any weaknesses at all, and yet it could be pressed down. An invasion right now might be dangerous without preparation. If black wants to invade, black needs to maybe start with something like this, and after this, get a possible invasion. But black has a different plan. Black plays this shoulder hit. And the plan was probably like this. If white defends and just takes the territory, then black could play something like this. White needs to respond. Then something like this. Again, no choice for white. Black connects. White connects. Or maybe even like this, just to make sure, just to be sure that there's no weakness here. But black could push. This, white defends, and building this wall. Here black could extend, and it seems like white separates the stones, but black connects everything nicely with this knight's move. And this seems to be a very nice result for black. Black's influence is quite impressive. But this never happened in the game. Jowa must have thought that playing something like this would have been too passive, so he decided to counterattack. White plays here, and Black splits White, and at this point the computer believes that nothing dangerous really happens. The percentage is still there, the win rate is still the same, but if this was my game, I would feel very concerned, because being split like this as White at the very beginning of the game, this seems very risky to me. White extends, Black jumps, and the two white groups are separated. At this point, the 3 stones on the right seem to be doing fine, so White probably needs to manage these 3 stones first. White attacks the corner. Black plays at the vital point. The corner is getting weaker. Black crawls. Atari. Black connects. And notice how this black stone just happens to be at the vital point attacking this white shape. Now at this point, the computer believes that it was much better for White simply to crawl like this and strengthen this whole shape. But White played here, trying to be faster. Black is following the principles of Jowa himself. First, make yourself solid, and after this, look for your opponent's weaknesses. So, trying to make the shape as strong as possible to attack White in the future. White protects against the cut with an empty triangle, which is quite painful. Black extends, and there's still a weakness here. If this was my game, I would play this bamboo joint probably without thinking. But somehow, Jowa in the game plays another empty triangle, probably thinking that this move also takes the liberties of these 2 stones. And what's more, these White's empty triangles give Black a chance to play a splendid Tsuji, which hurts White's shape, it threatens White eye shape, and it helps Black stones, these Black stones at the same time. So this is a question for you. If you're Black here, how would you continue this attack? In the game, and this is the best move in this situation, Black played here, which makes sure that now White doesn't have an eye here, and no eye here. And also, because of these weaknesses, it's difficult for White to attack the Black stones. White plays this move, but again, now it doesn't make an eye. White lives in the corner. And at this point, of course, White could simply connect all of these stones to this group. So playing something like this or like this was definitely possible, but probably not for Jowa Meijin, because he was 9 done, he was the best player in the country. Connecting like this on the second line feels really humiliating. So all of these moves, with all of those empty triangles, simply connecting and allowing Black to make this perfect thickness in the center, with those 3 stones still weak, this is a terrible result for White. So instead of all this, White wants to destroy this center thickness. White plays this Atari. Black connects, and White connects. Obviously, now that White gets into the center, Black separates. And all of the white stones don't have 2 eyes. White makes an exchange in the corner. White defends. And White starts to escape. And just like we said before going on any offensive, Black wants to make sure that all of his shapes are well connected and strong. So Black makes another shape move here. White escapes again. And here I want to ask you one more question. The next move that Black makes, it's not really flashy, but it's considered to be so multifunctional. It does many things at the same time, and it's a really good shape to remember. So where would you play as Black right now? Black has a few options here. As long as Black manages to split these 2 white groups and attack them at the same time. So any jump around this area would be fine. but what black actually played in the game was this move. This is what we call sometimes the $1 million turn. This simple turning move doesn't look like a Tsuji, and yet it lays more pressure on these white stones, and consequently more pressure on this group as well. It separates them completely. It makes sure that now black is on the outside and out in the center, and white is somehow on the inside and has to struggle living here and here. White jumps, trying to live here, making a base, and black continues to attack. At this point, if white defends like this, for example, then black would probably peep. And even if white defends like this, black could press again, and this is quite nice for black. Black gets a thickness, and white gets a small life on the side. In the game, white played here, and in response to this, black found another beautiful probing move. Black plays here, trying to push white to connect like this, and then this move also builds the wall and it becomes sente. White needs to respond. Naturally, white didn't want to respond so passively. So white chose to counterattack as always. White pushed out very sharply, but of course in response to this, black can cut off this stone. Another shape move from white, trying to strengthen this. Black defends. And this strengthens this group a little bit. Black needs to separate and connect. And a jump. Black connects. And white plays out. And what actually happened here is just like Jowa told us in his advice, he sacrificed one stone because he was in a difficult position. And in exchange for the sacrificed stone, white manages to bypass this $1 million turn. White manages to get away from the third line, come out into the center, and now it seems like white is actually attacking black. Black escapes and keeps on separating white. Black is all connected. White escapes, and black keeps on attacking. More pressure on white. White is trying to make some shape here, some eye shape, and black doesn't allow that. Another jump. White is trying to counterattack. Black cuts. Another very aggressive move from Jowa. And black finds the best possible answer. The sharpest move. Black descends, not allowing any possible compromise here. This move threatens to connect here, cut like this, and also now this move creates the possibility of pushing like this and cutting off these 5 white stones. White's position is really dangerous here, so many weaknesses. White extends, and black connects to the corner. White tries to block, but there is a connection here. If white tries to cut it off like this, black will cut, and these 2 white stones are captured. So, white plays a peep, and this actually protects against the cut. So if black now responds, now white can cut. So, black has to capture the stone, and white cuts. At this point, the computer suggests a very interesting variation. A simple connection here, everything is safe, white would cut through, and now, when black is strong, black can cut, and another cut, and white is in big trouble here. The 3 white stones, these stones, there's a cut here, there's a possible cut here, This group is still in danger, everything is just falling apart. But in the game, black played differently. Connecting here would have left too many cutting points. So black extends, allowing white to cut through. But this temporary success for white doesn't mean anything. Black's win rate during all of these moves is around 95%. Black plays another attacking move here. White has to connect. Now black extends here, and now there's a cut. White has to defend. Hane. White extends. And black extends here, continuing the attack. Again, all of the white stones don't have a single eye. At this point, there's almost nothing that white can do. White tries to play like this, and black could have simply taken the stone, even allowing this cut, and everything would be fine for black. Black could also connect like this, but in the game, white found an even more severe move. Black plays here. Another shape move that creates two cutting points in white's formation. White needs to defend now, it's very unpleasant, and we remember that this black's group will never get under attack because black has this cut in the future, cutting these 5 stones off. The game lasted only 100 moves, and it's at this point that Jowa decided to leave the game unfinished. They played another game, and that one was even shorter. Only 73 moves, and the game was over, also unfinished. So when Jowa found that he would have to play against young Akaboshi in this Matsudaya residence, he knew exactly what kind of opponent he was up against. These games showed everything, and he knew he could lose this game. And at the same time, this was the one game he really couldn't afford to lose. He knew very well that if he lost the game now, he could indeed lose his title of Meijin and Godokuro. And at the same time, Akaboshi Intetsu also couldn't afford to lose it because he was really grateful to his teacher, Gennan, and this was his only chance at getting the title of Meijin, so he knew he had to try his best and win this upcoming game. By the way, you can also watch these lessons on our platform, gomagic.org. Except there, you'll watch them with interactive quizzes right within the lessons and practical exercises right after them. And if you enjoy watching these Go videos and you don't want to miss others like this one, go smash that like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and this is Go Magic.